Last week we brought you the story of Robert Erueti, an Auckland man who'd been living a transient lifestyle ever since he was evicted from his Housing New Zealand home. If you heard this story, you'll remember it. Robert was forced to leave in March last year after tests showed small amounts of methamphetamine traces, tiny amounts. But he was never charged, and both the Ministry of Social Development and Housing New Zealand said there was no proof he was responsible. He was evicted because his name was on the lease. He went on to sleep rough in a boarding house and spent 58 weeks in a motel at a cost of at least $44,000 to the taxpayer, making him New Zealand's longest emergency housing motel tenant.
I kind of felt that this was going to drag on. In my heart, I thought that they would never get her, or they would never help me. And I felt that they had forgotten about me.
Well, Housing Minister Phil Twyford heard that. He came on the program the following night to announce policy changes in response to Robert's story. Michelle Cook, who told us Robert's story, met with Robert and his daughter Casey today as he got the keys to a unit in a Housing New Zealand complex.
I've had an apology from the Housing Minister, and he came to meet me in person, and I really thanked him, and it really touched me, and it sort of like I kind of knew that he would, after this outcome, that he would probably provide me a place. On Monday I got a call from Housing, and they said we could have a property for you, Robert.
The Minister of Housing, Phil Twyford, told Checkpoint last week Robert should never have been evicted from his state house. His daughter Casey, a social worker, says she was surprised he was offered a house within a week of going public and doubted they would have had the same result under the previous government.
It's been overwhelming to know that there are a lot of people in New Zealand that do care about my dad and his story and his situation. It's been really difficult and very hard for myself to support my dad as there have been many policies and barriers that have been upon this process. So I'm just very thankful to Phil Twyford and his team for coming out last week to meet my dad and myself, and really just to know that my dad has somewhere safe to live and somewhere that he can call home, somewhere stable and somewhere where his grandchildren can come and visit. Yeah. Since the eviction, my father has been disconnected as a grandfather and hasn't really had a lot to do with his grandchildren due to his transiency. So I got a phone call the other night from a nephew who said to me, "Auntie, I'm just so happy that Koro's got a home because I'm able to go and visit him." And so he's asked, "Auntie, is it okay if I can take my PlayStation to Koro's?" And even my son, he's overwhelmed by the news. And last night he's rung Koro and he's asked if he could come in the weekend and hang out with Koro. So that's really awesome.
It means a lot to me. It means I can be safe and I can get on with my health and taking my medication properly. And I could, well, the big highlight, like my daughter was saying, cases, I could get on with my grandchildren and have them over for the weekends. And yeah, it's been a big thanks for everyone that was involved in making this happen.
That is Robert Erueti talking to our reporter Michelle Cook, who wrote that story. Quite an extraordinary response to it, and I think more to come because the methamphetamine limit has gone from 0.5 to 1.5 in the testing. There is a sense it may go higher yet. This is trace limits off walls, carpets and that sort of thing.